as you're writing and as you're presenting ideas, you want to be as clear as possible. You don't want people having to work too hard to decipher what point you're trying to make with this. The best thing we can do is bring a lot of clarity to what we're doing. So before I write any sermon, before I write any book, before I write any chapter or blog post or whatever, this is the process I walk myself through. What is the one thing I want the reader or the listener to know? Why do I want them to know it? How do I want them to be impacted by it? And then the next question is, what's at stake if they're not impacted? And by that, I don't mean, oh gosh, I'm not a very good writer and now I'm insecure. I mean, like, what if you had never read that book? And then the last thing is, like, how will I help them remember that one thing that I want them to know? What story am I going to pull? What illustrations am I going to use? What data do I need to do? Research do I need to do? How am I going to help them remember that one thing? And the whole point is to bring clarity to what we're trying to do. Because if people have to work to interpret what you're saying and what you're doing, then you're probably not going to keep them for reading the rest of what you wrote. If you could summarize everything you're trying to do in one sentence, everything you're trying to say in one sentence, what would it be? A lot of publishers will call this the elevator pitch. If you could summarize everything you're wanting to say in one sentence, what would it be? And then, what are the 2 or 3 one-sentence points that support your main idea? Then what you're going to do after that is, what is your intellectual support? So now that you know what your main idea is, now that you know what your main points are, like, what are you going to do to actually give authority and meat to what has been put on your heart? And then what's your emotional support? You don't want to bore, it's a sin to bore people with your work. This is personal stories, it's illustrations, it's ways to make this come to life. Then you're going to write a compelling conclusion. The last thing people hear or read is going to be the thing they take away most from what you wrote. So you want to spend a lot of time making sure that how you're landing the plane is done with a lot of care and attention. And then the counterintuitive piece of all of this is, after all of that, then you write your introduction. You write your intro last because you don't know what you're introducing until the content's all out there. Your intro is going to be where people decide whether or not they want to keep reading or listening.